So what I want to show you is what we sent out to families all across the SAU in every school. This is the decision matrix that we're using primarily to communicate, where each school is in terms of being in person or staying in person. I think the major emphasis here is to show people that this is complicated. I hope this matrix and this explanation that we're going to do at each school district in October communicates that. So I want to walk you through what in your school is a slightly more simple exercise, an easier exercise, but I think helpful nevertheless. So we looked at a number of factors, including the community spread of COVID by town, the positive COVID results within a school community, the staff absenteeism and leave requests that we're operating against in terms of Americans with Disabilities Act requests or requests under the FFCRA, the Families First COVID bill. Availability of space given social distancing guidelines, which you've heard me explain a couple times at least as a math problem. We had classrooms, they had this number of students in them. We now have to configure those classrooms differently, and so we can only have a lesser number of students in that classroom. And so we have to be able to make that new number work. Student absenteeism, including requests for the Remote Learning Academy, and it's that Remote Learning Academy one that's really important to us now. We've said since June and July that if we didn't have the right number of students that requested a remote experience, that would cause problems in terms of that space requirement, unless we were able to go out and find additional spaces. Now for the fall, that could be creating outdoor spaces, but that's going to expire on us fairly soon. So that means, could we find other spaces? We're going to have a conversation with the Northampton board at 6:30 that's going to be more on that piece of, if the middle school is to come back, it's going to be really focused on, can we find other spaces, because we don't have enough room in the building because of the way we spread out the elementary. And then the last is compliance with protections. That is, are people, when they're in the building, are they doing what they're supposed to be doing? Are they filling out the application in the morning to clear themselves to come in? And in most of our schools, that's been a very positive experience. So you can see that for your school, the number of cases in town is one or fewer. We only have one community that's actually in the yellow on that, and therefore that makes Winnicott in the yellow, because Winnicott ends up being being all of our communities combined. We haven't had any situations, I'm knocking on wood as I say this, within the school that would put the school into anything other than the green. So we're very positive situation there. Staff absenteeism and leaves are at a point where we can actually run the school and run the school fairly comfortably. Michelle might not completely agree with that, but more comfortable than some. It's not been an impediment to bringing students in person. Availability of space is in the yellow, because we have a number of classrooms that right now, even with the number of students who've requested Remote Learning Academy, a number of classrooms that are right up against the number that we can take. In fact, we had to move one and utilize the gym to actually make that work. So that's yellow. We're watching that. Too many more students that would choose that in-person option, and we would have a different set of problems. Requests for the Remote Learning Academy are right where they need to be. They allowed us to open. There were enough students within your regular student population that it put us in the green and allowed us to open. If that were to decrease at the end of the first trimester, and that's something we're concerned about, that would cause us a problem and have to relook at the matrix as it applies to your school. And compliance with protections, everybody's doing what they should be doing. Michelle reports that people are filling out the application in the morning, people are maintaining social distancing, people are wearing masks, all of those kinds of things to make it work. So all in all, a good report that allows us to continue to be open in person at your school. We're posting these. We're going to do this every 2 weeks. We're going to send them to parents and staff every 2 weeks. And where there are changes, we're going to make sure that we note them for you in a timely fashion. We're going to post them on websites, all those kinds of things, along with a letter that went out explaining it. This explanation I've just provided you, we're going to take that video and post it with the matrix so that people can hear my explanation of walking you through it. And hopefully that'll be helpful to them if they weren't able to join us for the meeting tonight. But this is really our effort to make sure that we keep people informed as to where we are. Now we have 3 schools, you know, that started in a remote situation, and we're going to begin next week to revisit where we are with those. 2 of those schools are out because of the staff absenteeism and leave issue. In other words, for their matrix, they're in the red. One of the schools is an availability of space. That's Northampton Middle. They're in the red in availability of space. And so what we're going to begin to do next week is to revisit our assumptions on those and see if we can create some kind of a timeline that brings them to some sort of in-person experience, certainly bringing them in more. Although kids are coming in now, students who have IEPs, students who have other needs are coming in for in-person sessions now, but we want to see if we can increase that and use this matrix experience as a jumping off point for that. So I'm happy to try to answer any questions. People have been terrific in helping us put this together. Principal have been very supportive in terms of the work that we've tried to do to make sure that we can report to the community.